My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to episode 223. These numbers are becoming a mouthful of Legally Clueless podcast. If you are an OG member, thank you so much for rocking with this podcast. I've got so much love for you. And if you are brand new to the pod, welcome to the family. Audio episodes like this go out every single Monday, and you can stream them on Spotify or everywhere else you find podcasts on. Make sure you join our community. We're at legallycluelessafrica.com. And then if you want to share your story on this podcast, we're currently knee-deep in story recording season, which is so much fun. I'll tell you more about it in a bit. Just check out the show notes. There is a storyteller form that you need to fill out, and then I'm going to get back to you. Ooh, before I forget, social media. We've kind of crafted our warm little corner of the internet. So join us on Instagram. We're at Legally Clueless Africa. And on TikTok, we're at Legally Clueless Africa as well. Ooh, I have really great news. I forgot to tell you last week, but here we are now. Our next group therapy session is coming up on the 1st of July. I'm so excited that we've kept at it, and not given up. And we're building such a huge community of people who are intentional of their healing. That makes me so excited. So it's coming up on the 1st of July here in Nairobi. If you go to legallycluelessafrica.com or just check out the show notes, there's a link for you to grab your tickets. Tickets are 1,500 Kenya shillings. And we posted about the group therapy session once, and we've already sold half of our tickets. So we only have half left. So if I was you, I'd get the tickets right now. Just go to legallycluelessafrica.com. But the theme, I'm really excited about the theme for this group therapy session. The theme is how we lose ourselves in relationship. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I'm alone on this one. Hey. You get into a relationship. Okay, in my dating past and relationship past, I thought I wasn't worthy enough to be loved. And so any person who showed me any form of attention or quote unquote love, or let's just call it attention, because some of them, that wasn't love, I would go with, because I would be like, well, my self-worth is kind of attached to this now. I see myself as deserving because someone else has seen me as deserving. In that process, if that's the foundation for me, what would happen is I would lose myself, because then I would do anything to keep this source of attention and validation and esteem and worth, even when it would cost me my essential self. And I'm not even shitting on the people that I've been with, because that was all on me, that was all on me. And in the process, man, I lost myself. I can honestly say I've only been my true self in one relationship. One. And I've dated how many people? I've been with, like I'm counting. Oof. I don't know if we count him. Get me, or I've been with 5 people ish. I might have none at my big age of 34. Anyway, whatever, no shame. I'm all about long relationships, but in all of them, I think there's only one where I really do feel like I am my truest self. My essential self is not broken or lost. That's saying something, man. Like, that's pretty sad. And so we're going to be looking at how we lose ourselves in relationships. So not only intimate relationships, but even friendships, because that happens in that space as well. Faith, who also happens to be my therapist, but is our Legally Clueless Africa therapist, is going to be facilitating the session. 1st of July, it's at Kanga Studio from 9:30 a.m. Clear your morning. We're not selling any tickets at the gate, so you have to get your tickets in advance. 50% of the tickets are already sold, so grab yours right now by going to legallycluelessafrica.com or check out the link in the show notes. I really hope to see you there. Let's, get our healing on. Let's make it cool to be courageous enough to heal. All right. I'm really excited about this episode because the storyteller is just someone I just met but has quickly become one of my favorite people. Do you get? I know it sounds a bit strange, but anyway, his name is Lionel. Listen to this.
When it came to arts, I wanted to be part of drama because I was never, being a feminist, you're not going to be into track. So I wanted to be part of, the drama club singing. Singing was reserved only for girls in my primary schools. I never enjoyed football. And then there was a phase in my life where when my cousins would play with dolls, I would indulge. But I remember one time when we were watching a movie and then I shrieked or something. And then my dad was like, yo, why are you behaving like that? And then I was sent out of the room. I remember one time praying to God and saying, I just wanted to have beards and just a big body so that maybe I would escape this. And I remember I would get into classes and someone would give me Bible verses on homosexuality. Yeah, they would, since you're feminine, of course, you messing around with guys. So you'd get into a class and then people would give you this verse, someone would give you this verse, And these were people who are least religious.
That's Lionel's story. It's coming up in a bit. I had scheduled an entirely different story for this episode. In fact, you were meant to listen to a story I recorded in Senegal. But then I'm doing my story recordings and one of the people I record is Lionel. And my goodness, I loved his story so much. I found pieces of things I've been thinking and restructuring for myself in his story. Oh my goodness. So I was so hyped about it. I decided I cannot hold the story back from you. So we rescheduled the plans and you'll get the Senegal story when you get it. This episode is part one of Lionel's story. We're going to get to that in a bit. But first, Song of the Week is one I've probably shared with you before. If I haven't, shame on me because I love Erykah Badu's music. But I was jamming to this song yesterday morning. I hadn't listened to it in such a long time. And I just thought it put me in such a good mood that I wanted you to feel that as well. The name of the song is I Want You. Listen to the instruments. Oh my goodness, they're so yummy. And how it builds. And then the harmonies. Oh, the harmonies. The harmonies. I wish I could sing, man. The song is so good. I was jamming to it. In this new house I moved into, well, not so new, I'm about to hit 1 year in it. My bathroom in my bedroom is super huge. So I legit have full-on concerts before I jump in the shower, while I'm in the shower, when I get out, complete with an imaginary audience. And so I was performing this song, but it's not mad. I know you do it too. Check out the song. I put a link to it in the show notes. So quick catch up. I'm going to make it short because I want to speak more after the story. I just want to share something I'm struggling with and throw it out there in case you're struggling with it too, or you've navigated it, or you have some tips that you want to share with me on it. I'm really struggling with the guilt that comes with creating healthy boundaries. Currently, the score is guilt 10, Adele 5, As a reformed people pleaser, and I was super extreme at it. I was making huge life decisions based on pleasing others, decisions about my life. Can you imagine that? Anyway, I am a reformed people pleaser. But what's difficult when you're reforming and trying to have healthy boundaries is because you've made people accustomed to that version of you, the version that, checks in before making a huge life decision, tells things that maybe were nobody else's business, kind of just seeking validation and approval from others. Because you have accustomed people to that version of you, when you come back, a healing version of you with boundaries, there is resistance. And not only external resistance, but even from within, man, the guilt. I'm really struggling with this. Like, just feeling like, am I a mean person, and constantly having to restructure that thought and be like, no, 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 you're not. This is why we're doing this, blah, blah, blah. That is very exhausting. So I'm just wondering if I'm alone in this. Like, if not, what are some of the things you've done that have helped? Like, feel free to slide into our Instagram DM. There's a link to our Instagram in the show notes. I'm just like throwing this out there. Just want to know I'm not the only one. I want to know this is not a me thing, you know? Like, when I think of this situation, the video that comes to mind, and it's a video that's whenever I'm stressed, I think about, it's this really funny Cardi B video of her saying, I'm going through it, bitch. Something, something, my motherfucking medulla. Oh my goodness. I'm going through it, bitch. In that regard, not in the entirety of my life, but in that specific regard. Anyway, I'm going to talk more after the story. So I think we need to jump into 100 African stories. I really love recording stories, but especially love recording stories of legally clueless listeners. Lionel is one of those people. He wrote in, filled out the storyteller form, and then we got back to him. Turns out he came all the way from Nakuru to Nairobi for us to record his story. When we went on tour in 2021 to Nakuru, he had actually applied to be one of the people whose story would be shared then. But unfortunately, you know, we were touring during the pandemic, during lockdown, we had curfews. So we had a tight limit of the number of people that we could record in every city we went to. So unfortunately, we weren't able to record Lionel, but look at the universe. We made it happen. And oh my goodness, I have to share this. He arrived at the storytelling recording with a gift for me, which were Irish potatoes. And I just felt so touched. So absolutely touched, especially more so when he brought it up in his story. I just felt like he'd given me a piece of his story. Anyway, he gave me potatoes. I really love potatoes. I'm having fries for dinner tonight because of Lionel's potatoes. But I couldn't wait for you to hear his story, as I felt so moved by it. And his story weaves us through his journey of him redefining his identity, really gaining self-awareness, and most importantly, understanding what his definition of masculinity is. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
Hi, my name is Lionel Oyer. Oh, Ingram, there's an Ingram in the middle. So Lionel Ingram Oyer. My parents went all out when giving names, just low parents and everything. So I'm from Nakuru at the moment. Originally, I'm from Migori County, but at the moment, I reside in Nakuru. I'm a third-year medical student at Kenyan University. Ingram was given because my uncle used to love James Ingram. My dad loved Lionel Richie, so gave me Lionel. So it's the whole thing. I grew up in Awendo town, that is in Migori County. Specifically, my dad used to work at Sony Sugar. He still works there, not he used to work. My dad works at Sony, so he's an engineer there. So by default, we get to live in that town. Yeah, grew up pretty much village boy because used to come from the village end of things, not the town side. And I think that is an insecurity that you carry through life. Because I remember like in primary school, we felt different. I have two siblings, both boys. We felt different because whenever we'd go to school, it was very clear that we did not come from the town end of things. So we felt left out of a lot. I think when you talk about feeling different, I changed schools. Like, yes, I normally tell people every single time I get comfortable, the universe, God is going to put me. So in nursery, I went through 2 nursery schools. In primary, I went through 2. So in the first one, you being smart, you get away with a lot, Cindy. But I remember I was very feminine. It was easier to bully me compared to my siblings. So I was the one they would come for. You understand? Being a firstborn, you're expected to be, but I'm the one who it was easier to bully. Because by the time I was in class 4, I remember kids from class 3 finding it easier to bully me because I was a bit effeminate. My other siblings are a bit buff, up to date, you get. So yeah, I think that is why we felt different. And then when I changed schools, I think after post-selection violence in 2007, I changed schools, went to a new one. Now, this one was a bit more posh than the other one. That is trouble in itself. That is a whole can of worms. I don't think I've ever fit in. I remember the first time I made friends with this chick, and then in playing, I kicked her, and then her brother came and beat me up. And then I never got over that. I was like, what did I do wrong? I thought we were at that place where we were comfortable. And then that happened, and then it was other mini aggressions. But the way I'm wired, when I see a situation where I'm going to encounter resistance, I pull back a lot, Cindy. So either I pull back or I go all out, Cindy. So initially, I think I went all out. I wanted to be part of the cool crew. So when they were singing Salario at breakfast, nameless back then, I would be with the boys singing Salario. And then you learn very fast that you're never going to fit here. So you try as much as possible to focus on the things you can focus on. The one thing I say is grace for me was books. I loved Harry Potter books back then. And I love the fact that my parents never felt the need to stifle that, because I would carry books. I remember, is it The Chamber of Secrets of the Half-Blood Prince? It was this huge. And my mom would let me read that at the dinner table. I'm just like, So I'm like, up to date, I'm like, I did not understand that part, because weirdly, my dad did not love us participating in arts. And I remember that was also the part of not belonging. When it came to arts, I wanted to be part of drama, because I was never, being a feminine, you're not going to be into track and everything. So I wanted to be part of, the drama club, singing. Singing was reserved only for girls in my primary schools, which is a bummer, but it's fine. So drama was it. And then audition, got the role. My dad was like, you're not going anywhere. So that played out. So yeah, that is, I felt different in primary. And I think it's fast. I never enjoyed football. A lot of them would love playing football. So I would, veer towards either netball, because they did not have basketball, or volleyball. So the number one. And then there was a phase in my life where when my cousins would play with dolls, I would indulge. Do you understand? So that was, up to date, I don't know why my parents never stopped that. Do you understand? The things I do not know why they never stopped, but I'm grateful they never did. But there's still moments. I don't think this was at school, but I remember one time when we were watching a movie, some certain things stay with you. And then I shrieked or something, and then my dad was like, yo, why are you behaving like that? And then I was sent out of the room. And then I think that was translated as, this is a problem. It needs to be toned down. And I think I carried that. But at school, ignorance is bliss. Do you understand that? I don't know where I learned that from, but if it hurt you or something of that sort, it was not my business. I think I made it my business just exist. Do you understand? I enjoy the spaces I enjoyed. So that meant I leaned more towards female friendships than male friendship. Another thing was, in joining a new school, everyone has established their friendships. And even with these female friendships, you're not really part of the friendships. You're just tagging along. If one hit for a season, because I remember in class 8, I had this crew where we did not like math, so we would get beaten relentlessly. It was the same team. So you wouldn't call them friends. I remember one time I was used to get to a material to go home. And then this man, grown up, years later, I'm like, that was gross. But one of the comments he made was, you're such a pretty boy. Your dad must have very good genes. At that moment, it was not a compliment. I did not see it as a compliment back then because of whatever facial expression he had on. But years on, I look back, I'm like, why did you make that comment about a small boy? Do you understand? And then I think it was not said, but it was, people just showed you were different. It was not said. It was just, yeah. High school was strange. I went to the first high school. I am thankful I had to leave. It was not under very good circumstances, but to this day, I thank God I left that school. I never really fit in, and I've told you, when I either go all out or I withdraw. I think in that school, I just played too small. And with being a bit effeminate, it meant I remember one time praying to God and saying, I just wanted to have beards and just a big body so that maybe I would escape this. And can I say, there are comments that were being made, because I remember when they would cast roles, if I went for the drama, because I decided in high school, this man was no longer here, I was going all out. So I went drama, and the first role I was given was a feminine one. I remember the first time, this is weird, the first time I walked to that stage, guys screamed. I was like, are you okay? And then there was a comment that was made. One time we went and then came back and then we lost. We had lost for the drama. And then one person said, what did you guys expect? You're so feminine that they might have thought that they'd poached you from a girls' school. And I was like, is this? I don't think I translated that bad. In the first high school, I played really small and then had switched schools. My mom I don't know how she takes us through the studio, but she gracefully took me to another school. I was being truant. That is all I can say. I was being a truant, and then I had to leave the first school, but it was not under very good circumstances. But my dad had decided he was taking me to like a local school, and then my mom, with her grace, still was like, no kid of mine is going through that scenario, and that is saving grace. To this day, I say that lady has saved me more times than I've saved myself. So I go to the next school, and then it was in the middle of nowhere. It was called Wangapala Boys. It's in Oyugis, Homa Bay County. I don't think the school was one of the best, but you make do with what you have to. But it built me in ways I would not have been built anywhere else. So in that sense, it was good. It was not too strict. It was not too lenient. So I just got the right amount. But still, the effeminate card comes in. I remember, again, these are comments. After like 2 weeks, someone commented that for someone who is new, you've been the cover boy more than any of these new kids. Do you understand that? Like in school, they would have rankings for who was being like, how you cover Vogue. I don't know. So it wasn't like Vogue per se, but it was like the person who has been more seen, like someone who is a bit curious. People are curious about you, senior. So people had stayed curious about me for a very long time. Another weird thing is high school still. When I joined, remember, I had to go a step behind. I had not mentioned that. I had to like go one class back because the class I was supposed to join had like continued when I was on a break. So when I joined this poor young, so you feel a bit, I'm joining kids and all that, Cindy. But with mom and her grace, she told me you're never going to be too old for a space. So you put in the work. And that worked. So grades, you get the grades, you move on. But that hounded me, like the effeminate thing hounded me. The weird thing is I was never aware, like I never saw it as a problem. Everyone else did because it was mentioned, like the boys who would whisper, they would jeer. I remember I would get into classes and someone would give me Bible verses on homosexuality. Yes, I remember. But that was in Form 4. But I had grown a thick skin at that point, so I did not give a fuck. Yeah, they would, since you're effeminate, of course, you messing around with guys. So you'd get into a class and then people would give you this verse, someone would give you this verse, And these were people who are least religious. But in the same class, I think the thing that used to like hype me up was people would be like, do not listen to that. Please do not read that verse. Yeah. The people in that same class, and the people we're not that close, but they'll be like, Leo, do not read that verse, Cindy, and all of that. So in sense, there was a balance. There was people who would hate on you and but in high school, I was effeminate and I embraced it a bit. I remember in class, people would make jokes. They were like, whatever universe, the way you wear your watch, this is just something that is in you. And in the second high school, it was embraced. I was never taught it was a problem. They would make jokes about it. They're like, Mr. There used to be a high school. A teacher in high school, history. He was called Mr. Osiare. I hate him for it, but he used to taunt me so much in class. He was like, Mr. Give me an answer and everything. Send you. So it became a thing. I got used. I realized I cannot live life feeling bad for myself. So I had to either lean in, and then I'm an extrovert. So it's a problem. If I start withdrawing, I would lash out. That is a problem I have. If I'm ever in a space where I feel pushed to a wall, I lash out at people I love or at myself. So I would rather embrace it than that. So yeah, high school was a bit kinder to me. The first one was not kind, but the next high school was a bit more kind. I found more friends who were accepting, and it's like, it's the most unlikely of people. Do you understand? We have had fracas because if I do not like something you've done, I'll tell it to you. Do you understand? So these are people at a point we had issues, but for them to stand up for me and be like, yo, do not listen to that. You do not have to, do that. I remember in Form 2, we had to choose the subjects to proceed with. I chose physics solely because I did not want to be in that class. I knew clearly I would survive, yes, but I did not want to surround myself with so much negativity. That was the class where they would throw verses at me. I was like, I did not want to exist in a space where this happened to me on a normal day. People would jeer, people would laugh. I did not want to exist in that space. I could take it, but I did not have to take it. Weird story. My mom, I tell you, my mom had her grace and connections. Post Form 4, I did my exams and got a B+, was called to a university in Kenya. Did not like the university. So my mom was like, I don't know what to do with you, but let's see, Cindy. But the weird thing is, the first day I go to uni, I'm going to defer. And then I make a new friend. And then I start calling mom. I'm like, Mom, I've changed my mind. I want to go to this uni. And then she told me the word. She was like, if your spirit does not agree with something, let it go. And then I let it go from that point. So I went home, stayed again for another year. Remember, mimi class yangu ilishaenda. So you understand? So I'm saying again for another year. People are going to uni. I have to stay behind. But where she worked, there was this guy who had gone through a system in Uganda. Yeah, so he was like, oh, your son can go to this Ugandan school, get whatever, 20 points, get into medical scene, straight, so long as he's smart. I do not know how that lady had faith in me. 20 points, hey. So she was like, okay, fine, that is fine. So the next year, 2017, I enrolled. I did my KCSE in 2015, sat home for 2016, and then in 2017, I enrolled. Yeah, enrolled to St. Mary's Chitende, got in, but in this new school, it was weird. There were you have to do 2 years, so Form 5 and Form 6 India. So being new and being a foreigner, you do not know anyone. You're starting from scratch. But there was this chick to recommend, and we had gone with her. She was called Leah. And Leah and me have very different personalities. So it means she's going to be the quiet one. I'm going to be the jumpy one. In Form 5, initially I made friends. I made friends with Form 6. And as usual, first chicks before I went to the men. So I made friends with Form 6s. And then you learn very quickly your place. Yes, specialists teach you your place. Say, Form 5 have no business being friends with Form 6. So you learn that with the time. The effeminate thing comes again. I think this was in term 1. In reading, St. Mary's had different reading rooms for boys and chicks. It was mixed. So they had different reading rooms for boys, and then the girls used to have theirs. But girls' reading rooms used to be on our block, on the science block, because I did science. I did biology, mathematics, and chemistry. Still, I don't know how that lady trusted me with chemistry. The other ones were fine. But yeah, so one night, as we were supposed to move, I had not understood the fact that we're supposed to move to the arts block. So this chick comes and then she starts making a ruckus. And then I'm like, but we're supposed to be here. And then she says something in Luganda that I did not understand. And then I asked later what did that mean? And then she was like, you're fighting with me because anyway, you're a woman. Do you understand? In the basic sense, you're a woman. And then it hurt. I never told them it hurt because you do not show and then you're foreign and everything. But it hurt me that I was reduced to this again. Do you understand? Every single time I feel like I'm over this, we're back to the feminine nature of things. But Form 5 was I shrunk myself, if that is the word. Cindy, I had fit in, I was new. I used the excuses. I was new, I had fit in and everything. So did my Form 5 interesting things. The third term. Third term were usually the exams that would make you proceed to the next class, now Form 6. Third term was massive in St. Mary's Chitende. You had to either pass them or you go home. They used to be called Kabazi exams. Kabazi in Luganda means the axe. So if you would not proceed, you'd get the axe. Now, S6 boys that is Form 6, senior 6 boys had made a trend of taunting the S5 boys. They even drew an axe where would go for T in red, they spray painted an axe over there. I remember there were chicks who were caught with axes made from wood and paper because they're taunting girls. I remember the headmaster saying, you're here getting 5% in maths and you're taunting people about Kabazi. How did you pass? And those were girls, mind you. Those were girls. So yeah, they would taunt. But I realized they never taunted me. I have a very serious resting bitch face. So when I'm passing, you will just let me pass. And that worked for me in that time. The bad thing about resting bitch face is everyone is deterred, the good people and the bad people. So in S6, I don't think I had male friends. I made them towards the end, where you meet one guy and you sit next to them in entertainment, and then you vibe. You're like, yo, I never thought you're a nice person. I'm like, you thought? It's just a face. It's a mask I wear because people are shitty outside here. So that happened, and then yeah, there would be a bit of taunting that time, but they would not taunt me. So I realized very early, this is the face that I was going to wear. Still, this is a funny story I should not be telling, but anyway, I want to tell it. So still in S5, I went and auditioned for, there used to be some competitions for when we were proceeding, a day to going home, there used to be entertainment. Then entertainment would be we compete for things. So me and my friend, he was from Rwanda, we went and enlisted as rappers. I write poetry. And at that point, I had started writing hip hop because the boys had influenced me and I was doing very well. So I was a bit gassed up. I was like, yo, we can do this. And so we write, there was a chicks from the arts end who was supposed to be the vocalist. And so she bails on us the last minute. She's like 2 days. So she's like, no, I'm going for the modeling thing. I cannot come with you guys. And I was like, fuck. And then my best friend back then, Penelope says, yo, I think I can sort you guys out. So she's like, let's just do a mashup. And then we have to change the whole song. So when we get to stage, I forget my lines. Everyone does theirs well because Mugemana from Rwanda had, like, it was a popular rap song. That is why I hate Migos up to this day. It was because it reminds me, that song, Drip Drip, it reminds me of that day every single time. So his part knocked it off the park. And then I came, the chick, Cindy, she did Beyonce, it's a beautiful medley, Cindy, and then me forgot my lines. But the chicks still cheered because I was their friend, so at least that was, But that is the part where I got my first panic attack. When going back to the crowd, in my head, I was like, you're the worst. You have failed. Yo, how could you even allow yourself to do this, Cindy? Mind you, this was not the first time I had auditioned. I remember when also in Wangapala Boys Form 4, I had auditioned, sang Elani, my voice was off. Kuku. I don't hate Kuku because I love that song, so there's no way you can hate it, Cindy. But I did that and my voice was off, but I took that with grace because I was taunted, and then the same week where I had failed, I got called in top 10 like performance, and then I was like, in your faces. So yeah, it was a bit of a reprieve. So the next time people would be like, at least you have brains. So in St. Mary's Chitende, after that, I just lived in my head. I was just like, I have failed. Wow, who told me I could rap? Who told me I could write? Who told me I could do these things? And and in doing that, I went home. It was a day to going home. When our results came, I had passed my Kavazi exams. So I was going to S6, and but it was overshadowed by the fact that I had failed. So I carried that with me home, and I ruminated, like, the more you sit in things, the more it grows, the more it festers. And then I sat in it for a very long time. And then in December, I just had this wake-up call. I reminded myself that you do not live in your head. Why do you feel like you're important enough to people that they're going to walk around thinking, yo, Leo failed? Of course, my boys taunted me. My goodness, through the holiday, they'll just say, rapper, failed rapper. Jesus, friends are the worst. Sometimes I would get that whenever I walk into the room, rapper, how are you, mister? And I didn't get that time again. I think maybe the help with the healing process, it becomes less embarrassing. But in December, I decided I was never going to live in that space of letting people decide who I was and what I was not. And then when I went back to January, we used to go earlier because the Form 5s would be admitted in February. So in January, when I went back to school, I decided I was going to stand on the opposite side, end of the line. Like, how I'm used to the science guys. This time I was going to arts, and then I dared the person next to me to remind me that I had failed. In my head, that is, the person next to me just said, hi, how are you, Cindy? And then I let go of the resting bitch face slowly. And I started making friends. Form 6 generally was like my best year because I did everything. We had bands. We gave the warden a tough time. We did everything, but still the feminine thing comes back, because it's not going. And then I made friends. I also was afraid of being friends with effeminate people because it would be like, you people do you understand? It's the same thing. So there was this guy who was called Gerald Kasiba, such an amazing person. Everyone told me, you and Kasiba would really gel. Do you know? You people have the same interests, you love the same music and everything. And then I was like, nah. I was not acknowledging the fact that I did not want to be friends with him because he was effeminate. Yes, and that would feed into the idea of people seeing me as more effeminate. And it took me a lot to get to be his friend. And then once I became his friend, it was just like fireworks. It was like, why did I wait so long to be friends with you, Cindy? And then that was not the end of it. There was a guy in my class, he was called Alan. Me and Alan took like a while to be friends still because of the feminine thing. And then another one, then slowly, again, you sit down in your head, you're like, yo, I cannot keep doing this. I cannot keep pushing people who might be of benefit to me because I'm afraid of what people would think. So at that point, I started becoming friends with everyone who was effeminate, who wanted to become friends with me, of course, because I'm a snappy. But like, some can be bitchy. But the friends I had who wanted to be friends with me, we became friends. We had a band, it was called Mist. We'd perform behind the domes. Every single day at 10, they would be like, lights out, we'd be there. Cook. We would be doing mad stuff. we'll be doing Beyonce renditions, Alicia Cara, we'll be doing, and then the band, everyone had like a favorite. I was in my Alicia Cara phase. My friend was Taylor Swift. There was a friend who was into Demi Lovato, and then Mark was the church guy. So we're like, what are you doing with the rest of us hoodlums? But I never understood how Mark fitted in this. You understand? So we had so much fun, especially when they would come and tell us lights out, and then we have to run because of that. And he would just, it's like, there's this team of 4 boys always constantly behind. But with the time, people enjoy that. And then sometimes things live in your head. If you allow yourself space to be big or space to be whatever you want, you be that regardless. Whether someone is only going to see the feminine side of you, you still shine. Like if you choose to shine, you're going to shine regardless of what you have. So when I decided consciously that I was going to move into these spaces and own whatever I was, like being feminine and everything, it would draw more people towards me. I remember Gerald made this comment of, you're new, Cindy, you're an international student, you're new, you made more friends than some of us did, and we have come with this people from all levels, Cindy. How do you do it? Like, it is very hard for someone who is considered effeminate to even make friends in the first place. Cindy, give me a few examples, but it's like, you made friends. And then I was like, God, but like, I also attributed that to the fact that I chose consciously to not let this one thing stop me from being friends. But it also worked in the sense of, if you ever thought this was a big hindrance for you, I would not fuck with you. Yeah, that was very, very clear, Cindy. So nobody would turn to me, Cindy. I was the family, but I had the body. That's another thing they would not understand. They'll be like, yo, this man is muscular. Why is he a bit effeminate, Cindy? Those two are not usually, they do not go hand in hand. And I was very masculine. So you'd not bully me, but I still had this side that you can pick on, Cindy. But most people would not pick on it because, I'm still muscular. So you cannot bully me. So yeah, that was a struggle through high school, but S6 was fine. And there's also the imposter syndrome, because like when you start, I joined in a bit early. I was, I think, 19. These kids were 16, 17 because they go earlier, Cindy. So you feel like a bit off, Cindy. There's an experience. When I joined St. Mary's the first time, Cindy, I'm not good at math. That was back then, Cindy. The first time I did my first paper, I had 18%. Everyone in that class had passed. But I told myself, we are not going to live here again. I went to that library. The next paper I had 50%. And then from there I had 70s. And then, math was never a problem for me. So, but when I was in high school in Kenya, math was like the biggest hindrance to anything. The same cannot be said for chemistry. I tried. Chemistry did not still work out. Chemistry is still a bitch. I have never gotten over the fact over chemistry and everything. So there was a language barrier. I remember you'd go to the canteen, and St. Mary's was posh. We had sausages at the canteen. We had meat pies. We had the Rolexes. Rolexes are chapos with egg in the middle. We had those. We had Irish potatoes, so they would serve them at the canteen. The flex would be running early so that you could get Irish potatoes. If you got them, you were the guys. So in a way, I did not come from, my parents are middle-income earners. These kids were like posh. So you are constantly reminded of, I did not let myself be reminded, but every time you were constantly reminded that you did not belong. And I remember visiting days, they would have cartons. Someone would be visited with like 500 ml, 2 cartons of soda. I'm like, my goodness, biscuits, Cindy. And then my mom was trying so hard. The one time I complained, she sent me to St. Mary's with a box of biscuits. And then I was like, I cannot keep putting this woman through this, because my mom could not let me feel left out, Cindy. Another thing is my parents could not visit me because of the distance, and they did not have the money for it, honestly. Cindy, I never really acknowledged that during that end. So they would not come and visit. But friends filled in. I remember I had friends, mostly in Form 6, Cindy. There was this guy, he was Kenyan, but he had never been to Kenya. He was called Cole, I think, Cindy. But his parents were originally from Kenya. So when they would visit, this guy would walk me to his suitcase, pick like half of his sodas, sugar, and the crisps, and then he would give them to me. And then people would ask me, how come Cole gives you stuff? I don't know, it's grace or whatever, but when you meet your people, you just meet. That was not the only thing. One time I was so bad. I was not visited. I was off financially and everything. And I could not complain, because who are you complaining to? These kids assume you were from the same level, especially if you're a foreigner, your money has more value. So where are you going to be complaining to? So one time I was not visited, and then I was just off that week. And then this chick saw, but she played it down. And then I told her, don't worry about me. My parents are not visiting, but they're going to be sending money. That is a excuse I used to use. Worked, Cindy. They would try. I can't blame them. They would try. And then this chick one time, we're coming from supper, and then she's like, Leo, can I talk to you? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then she pulls me aside. Then she squeezes money in my hand, and then she runs away so that I cannot give it back to her. I have never forgotten that act of kindness. I was like, in these spaces where I feel like I do not belong, God is going to send someone. Send you. And I say I have met angels in this life because I had no reason to be loved that much. Do you understand? I do not give a lot. I listen, yes, and I'm a good friend. I try to be the best I can be. But this is love that I was like, I do not know what I've done to earn this much love. And I got it constantly through high school. I said that in some spaces it was love and God that has gotten me through. Cindy, it has nothing to do with human hands because I also had relatives, I'm not going to give them credit, we're not giving free sponsorships, who are like miles away, who could have come in and checked on me. They never did. Yeah, they were in Uganda at the same time I was struggling and they never did. So when you meet, and that has reinforced the same narrative of some people are going to help you. Regardless, I do not believe in that keep people around. I believe in every space I get into, God either has prepared or is going to prepare people at that level. Cindy, that is why I don't think I speak to anyone from primary. I don't. My first high school, like 1 or 2. St. Mary's today, yes, a few because it's the last one I went to. But I have never felt the need to hold on because I've also been constantly shown that I'm going to give you new people and they're going to love you regardless. So I don't believe in, friendships have had friends for 10 years. If your friends are good for you, Cindy. But experience has taught me these ones have been there for me. Yeah, and speaking of angels, there was a Kenyan lady, I think. She did not have any reason to help us that much, but she did. The first time we went to Uganda, no one was coming to pick us up. You're in a new city. You have to figure your way out from school and get home. No one is coming to pick you up. And then we were just told, this is the residence, get to her. And then we got to her, Cindy. She was kind enough, like we would leave our dirty clothes, she would wash. We would come back, pick them up. She would give us change for the border. Cindy, she was like the nicest person I know, And all of this, it just reinforces the theory of, or the belief of, at every point in my life, there's someone. So sometimes when you're being shitty, I did not really have to hold on because I've also seen Cindy. And it has also, like family for me, I think just the nuclear one. Yeah, my brothers, mom, dad, Cindy. The extended one, nowadays a bit, I don't think I hold them that dearly because I've seen how it has played out all life. Cindy. And then I do not also think, one time they'll help you because I've needed help in the past and I have not seen you come through. So yeah, that was my angels in Uganda, St. Mary's, and yeah. So finished St. Mary's, you'd expect I would go to a school in Uganda, right? Because I'm here doing everything to get into school. So the results come back and I do not pass that highly. I had 10 points. Whoever knows the Ugandan system knows that is not passing very highly.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. I found his story so powerful, and that's just part 1. So part 2 is going to be out next week, and I can't wait for you to hear that. But I wanted you to sit with this part and stew in it and ask yourself, which masculine stereotypes do you push on others or even on yourself, and why? Like, really sit with this first half of his story and ask yourself these questions, because I think a lot of the issues we have around gender and around identity and around humanity and kindness will be solved by many things, one of those being introspection and you actually questioning, why do you think the way you think? Why have you defined certain things the way you have? And who defined it for you in the event that you find that you didn't make the definition that you're carrying around with you? Does that make sense? So I really wanted to give you part 1 and give you a breather. So across the week after you've heard the story, to just like ask yourself these questions and like introspect. Another reason I really loved and identified with parts of the story is I realized last year, as self-aware as I am, a huge part of me has been very selfish in my intimate relationships with men. I I found that a part of me carried stereotypes that in some instances weren't fair. And I saw my partners as men first, human beings later, and men in the way that I defined it, and I didn't really leave space to hear what they defined it as, I mean, now I know better, so I am doing better. But that's a realization I came to sometime last year, and I was just like, ooh, sister, we need to check that. Why are you being selfish? What's happening there? And like now, I consciously see my partner as a human being, deserving of softness, deserving of grace, of them loving whatever they love, even when it goes against what society defines as masculine. I see them being deserving of romance and romantic gestures. I see that they feel as well. They have feelings, and they should, as humans, it's okay to feel and express that feeling, even if it comes with tears. There's absolutely no problem with that. And there's no hierarchy on the things that are deserving of tears and others aren't. That is a hierarchy based on gender as well. Man, if you want to cry, just cry. And I'm also evaluating constantly and figuring out what is my contribution in making the relationship accommodative and safe enough for all of those things I just mentioned, We didn't grow up in a vacuum. So the things we criticize about society, sometimes they are alive within us. So we have to be careful, and we have to keep unlearning and keep auditing ourselves as well. And I think I didn't do that for a while. And then last year it just hit me, wow, in those instances, that was very selfish, Even in the relationships where I was with a partner who was a douche. You know what I mean? Anyway. That's a story for another day. Another thing that I connected with in his story that I wanted to highlight was on the inner voice. When he talks about the panic attack, and in his mind the whole day, and as he's walking back to his seat, this voice in his head is like, you're the worst, you're terrible, etc. I am so proud that my inner voice has started being so kind to me. And so I wanted to say this as a reminder to you who says the most unkind things to yourself in terms of your inner voice. This is a reminder to start with two things, okay? One, a kind inner thought every day. Just one. I started with one, and over weeks, I've just found that close to all thoughts, I mean, I still struggle here and there, but close to all thoughts are very kind and sporadic. I'll be driving and I'll just be like, girl, I'm so proud of you. Sometimes I even voice it out, and I'm just like, oh, where did that come from? That's great. I am. Yeah, so start with just one kind inner thought every day, okay? And then start trying to learn how to challenge the nasty thing your inner voice says. Most of them are very untrue. So if your inner voice is saying, I'm foolish, you're going to have to be like, it will back it up inner voice. Challenge and restructure those thoughts. I found that sometimes, for example, I would be like tired and not feeling like I could work on, say, a particular day. And my inner voice would be like, well, that just means you're lazy. That just means you are useless and your business is going to fail. Like I knew it would, blah, blah. And I just had to challenge and be like, okay, number one, taking it easy one day doesn't make me lazy. Number two, which deadlines have I missed? Inner voice, you're lying. Number three, that's a bit of a stretch that my business is going to fail because one day I decided to go slow and rest. You're lying. Number four, how productive will I be if I am tired? The quality of my work is going to be shit. So why not rest up so that I can give the business the best versions of me, the best output? And then you silence that inner voice. So challenge and restructure those thoughts. So important. Last thing that I think that Lionel reminded me of was people don't think of you as much as you think they're thinking about you. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but replay it if you must. They really don't. Sometimes, And it happens to me, man. Either maybe I'll have a disagreement with someone, or I'll say something at an event that I'll overthink on the way home and just be like, ooh, those people probably think I'm dumb because I said ABCD. They don't even remember it. They're not even thinking about it. People don't think of you as much as you think they're thinking about you and what you've done or what you've said. So stop stressing, stop overthinking. I know it's hard. I'm an overthinker. And then just focus on who you are and what you want to achieve and the big life that you are trying to live and that you deserve to live. Those are the things that I identified with and took from part 1 of Lionel's story. I can't wait for you to listen to part 2. It's going to be out next week. So make sure you stream that episode. In the meantime, remember you can catch us if you're in Kenya on Trace FM. We're there every Monday and Wednesday at 1 p.m. and 11 p.m. Fridays, we're there at 1 p.m. Just go to traceradio.co.ke to stream. Make sure you also join our community. Sign up by going to legallycluelessafrica.com and literally just like filling out a very short form. Before we end this episode, do remember that we have our group therapy session coming up on the 1st of July and you're invited. The theme is looking at losses in relationships and friendships. So how we lose our essential selves when we're in relationships, be it intimate or friendship. Tickets are going really fast. Grab your tickets right now just by going to legallycluelessafrica.com. They are 1,500 bob and there are no tickets at the gate. So you have to get all your tickets in advance. So click the link in the show notes to grab your ticket or just go to legallycluelessafrica.com. I will be there alongside our therapist, Faith, who will be facilitating the session. And yeah, I think it's really powerful. I'm so happy that this is our 3rd group therapy session and that we're doing this and that we are building a community of Africans who are committed, who are brave enough to start healing. So in case you've been thinking about therapy and you've come across this, it's a sign. Come and join us. It's always so fulfilling, even for me. Oh my goodness. And then, you know what I love about our group therapy sessions as well is the friendships. I remember the first one, we ended at like, let's say 12:30. And one of the attendees told me she left the venue at 3 p.m. because her and another lady just sparked a friendship. And they just sat there in the garden talking about their lives and the different parts of healing they were navigating. I think that's so beautiful. Anyway, I hope to see you there 1st of July. Let's do this. Anywho, I'm singing a lot because I'm really happy. Oh my goodness. Even with the thing I'm struggling with on the boundaries and the guilds, it's just like one thing in my life, as I said earlier. But I never thought I would be where I currently am. And so I'm taking it in. I'm happy when I wake up. I'm around nature, which is something I've always loved. I know it's not for everybody, but it's something that was very important for me. I get to design the life that I want, and I've done it for myself. And just a year and some change ago, I didn't even think I was capable of that. I didn't even think life was worth living. And so I say all this to, yes, celebrate and really take in the good feelings that I'm feeling internally, but also to inspire you. Whatever it is you're going through right now, give life a chance. Trust me, life will show you wonders, and even you will show yourself wonders because you're a lot stronger and a lot more skilled and able to access that big life that you want than you're giving yourself credit for. So give yourself and life a chance. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.